So when you're starting a grieving process, you've lost your loved one, there's a lot of good coping tools. First is what we say is move through the tasks of grief. I'll give it to you in a kind of a clinical format and then a little bit more some practical ways. So the 4 tasks of grief are to accept the loss. We've talked about that a little bit. Things like the open casket, being present for the funeral, being present for the burial. Then we have processed the loss. That's what we just talked about, allowing the emotions to move through. And I can unpack that a little bit more too. And third is what we call adapt. So this is the time where people need to find what their new normal is. And there's 3 ways we do that: externally, internally, and spiritually. And finally, we need to take our people with us, whatever that looks like, and move into the next stage of life without them. So going back to kind of the beginning, those are the tasks, so they don't all happen at once and that you move through them. But if we were in the process after we've kind of accepted the death, is to process the emotions. And one of the most important things is to get a circle of people around you that are able to support you and listen to you over and over again. I get so many people in my office who say, I can't tell the story. So they either don't want to or they can't because they don't have people in their life that are able to listen to that story with compassion and companion them through it. So I always want to make sure one of the first things I do with them is to them tell me what happened. And I want to just hear it from beginning to end for however long it takes them. And you can physically see relief come over them when they're able to tell the story of what happened. And they usually don't want to tell it just once. They need to tell it multiple times. So people need to be very patient. They need to just sit with them and hear the story again and again. The other concept would be that this time of processing would be self-care. So emotional overwhelm was very prevalent at this time. So just making sure you have margin in your life for caring for yourself. Taking time out in whatever way feeds your soul and feeds you relationally. One of the dangers is isolation that people might do early in the grief process. So you really want to guard against that and kind of move through that by being with people. One thing that I find very, very powerful is grief groups. I ran quite a few of them at hospice. I know our parish has pretty much every 6 months runs a grief group. And these groups are phenomenal for helping people move through and process their emotion, whatever stage they're in, by being with others who are also struggling through the loss of their loved person. So that would be another suggestion I would have.